Hi there, I'm Sarah Ruthless, and this is Drunk Bible Stories. So today we are going to be doing the book of Esther. It's the only one in the Bible that doesn't say the name of God. Yeah, so spoiler alert, God's not gonna be in this one. Okay, so we start out in the land of Persia, and there's this guy named King Xerxes, and he's like, rah, 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 I'm just really into partying. I like to party, that is my whole personality. La la la. So he is in the middle of like a month-long bender, pretty much. He's like hanging out with his bros when he's like, what if, now just hear me out, we got my wife, Queen Vashti. Let's get her in here and have her dance around for us, wearing nothing but her crown. Ah, boobies. We should totally just keep letting men be in power. Anyway, so yeah, his wife gets summoned and she's like, that's gonna be like, just like a big old no thanks from me. And he's like, okay, well, guess what? Hate that. Hate being told no. Not a fan. You're just gonna be fucking banished. But that's not all. He also gets his right-hand man, Haman, and he's like, listen, I'm like super butthurt, so I'm gonna issue a royal decree that says it is literally illegal to disobey your husband. It's also illegal to talk to me unless I specifically summon you. So that lasts like about 2.5 minutes, and then he's like, I'm bored. Could you go round up all of the hottest virgins in the kingdom and bring them here? And then they can like audition to be my wife. So it's like Bachelorette meets Taken. All the king's horses and all the king's men go and round up all the hottest teens in the kingdom. And one of these children is a young lady named Esther, and she's living with her uncle Mordecai, and Uncle Morty goes with her, and he's like, I'm just gonna like hang out around here, I guess, because like you're a child. But so before they have like their audition with the king, they go through like sexy hot wife boot camp. And it literally says in the Bible that they have like 6 months of being anointed with the oil of myrrh and then 6 months with other various oils and spices. Like they're a goddamn like roast chicken. So like the boot camp is being run by the king's eunuchs. Right? He like needs someone to babysit them because they're fucking children. Poor choice of words. But like he needs someone who's not gonna like fuck the merchandise. Ew. So he gets his like top shelf eunuchs. And I know that like not all eunuchs were probably gay, but in my version, they are. Esther's really smart, and on like day one, she finds like the head twink, and she's like, hey bitch, we're best friends now. And he's like, yes we are, slut. And then they like become best friends, and it's like really cute. So like after year-long boot camp, all of the girls get one night with the king to just like lip sync for their lives. And if he likes you, then you get to like go to his harem or whatever. If he doesn't like you, you go to like a second tent. I have to assume that that is another euphemism for like prison or death. Basically, the whole story is just a giant ripoff of 1001 Arabian Nights. Spoiler alert, the whole Bible is just a ripoff of a bunch of other pagan stories and folklore, but some folks aren't ready to hear that yet. Anyway, when it is Esther's turn, she goes in to see the king. And after one night, he is so blown away that he literally makes her the queen. Okay, so here's the thing though. King Xerxes had like hundreds, if not thousands, of the hottest teens in the land at his disposal. We have to assume that Esther knew exactly what to wear and exactly what to bring in with her and exactly how to please the king, that after one night, he was like, you're my queen forever. Let's just look at the facts. Let's just look at the evidence. Who's she been hanging out with for the past year? Her gay best friend, who wants her to succeed and do well in life. I think there is contextual evidence to support the theory that Esther did some butt stuff. Not only did she do some butt stuff, she was really, really good at it. And this is my drunk Bible story, so that's what happened. Deal with it. So Esther becomes queen. Awesome, right? Uncle Morty is still like hanging around the palace gates, just like checking on her. He accidentally overhears these two guards talking about how they totally fucking want to kill the king. And Uncle Morty is like, oh shit, I need to tell Esther so she can warn him. And then she goes and tells the king, and she's like, hey king, my friend Morty, let's just call him Uncle Morty, he overheard these people saying that they want to assassinate you. And the king is like, oh shit, thank you for telling me. I really don't feel like being assassinated. He's so happy about it that he writes in his diary that night, dear diary, today this guy named Uncle Morty totally like saved my life. Like it was really cute of him. We should do something nice for him later, just like as a treat. Then he immediately forgets that any of that ever happened. Fast forward a little more time. Haman gets so fucking irritated by Uncle Morty hanging around, and it just like doesn't make sense. So I have to do what biblical scholars do and just fill in the gaps and assume the only logical explanation is that Haman is secretly in love with King Xerxes. And honestly, it tracks. It does. And he's like, wow, this like sexy Uncle Morty guy is just hanging around. Can't have that at all. Hey, bitch, stop hanging around my boyfriend's gates. I mean, the king's gates. Also, while you're at it, like, bow down and worship me because I can do whatever I want because I'm a piece of shit. And Uncle Morty is like, oh no, here's the thing though, I'm Jewish and I don't bow down to snivelly little bitches like you. And Haman's like, oh wow, you're Jewish? Okay, cool. Well, now I'm just gonna like make this a racial thing. Now I hate all the Jews in the land and I'm gonna have them all executed. Yeah, super original idea, buddy. No one's ever thought of that before. And Uncle Morty's like, wow, can you at least like let me know when this inconvenient event is going to occur so I can put it in my calendar? And weirdly, Haman's like, yeah, I'm just gonna like roll some dice and pick a random date. These dice are called Purim, by the way. That'll come back later, just like pay attention. So he like throws the dice and he's like, okay, cool, that's the date y'all are gonna die. And then Haman like runs off. He like does it. He like writes a law saying like on this date, we're just gonna like purge the Jews pretty much. Like a sneaky little bitch. He does all of this without telling the king. And he's like, it'll be fine. This won't come back to haunt me. Meanwhile, Uncle Morty's like having some feelings about this. So he dresses in sackcloth and ashes and starts wandering the streets wailing, which is like, I mean, that's like a choice. So she finds Uncle Morty and she's like, buddy, what's up? And he's like, okay, listen, I fucked up a little bit. You know, that Haman guy, he's gonna kill all of the Jews. And she's like, well, shit, dude. I'm like 15. What am I supposed to do? And he's like, okay, listen, you have to go to the king and ask him if he could just like possibly not murder all of us. And she's like, okay, here's the thing though. Remember how he like just issued that whole law saying that it's illegal to talk to him? Which like, just like a quick sidebar, how did Esther go and tell the king that Uncle Morty had overheard assassins talking? That part's just like left out. Oh, I hate the Bible so much. Okay, anyway, Uncle Morty's like, listen, you're gonna basically die either way. And if you do this, you'll be totally like exalted or whatever. And they'll probably like write a book about you. And she's like, yeah, I guess. Well, what can you do to like support me in this really stressful time of need? And he's like, I have a great idea. I'm gonna have all the Jewish people in the land fast for 3 days. That's helpful to you, right? Just knowing that all of the people who are literally depending on you to save their asses are hungry and cranky. Is that helpful? And she's like, yeah, that's great. That's fucking fantastic. But remember, Esther is fucking smart. So she goes to the king and like risks it all. And she's like, hi, king, is it cool if I talk to you real quick? And he's like, yeah, bitch, what's up? You caught me in a good mood. I don't feel like murdering anyone right now in this specific moment. What's up? And she's like, oh, great. That's a humongous relief. I was wondering if I could like throw a little dinner party tonight because I want to like ask you something and it's like kind of a big deal, but like I'll wait till tonight. And he's like, ooh, fun. So then they have the dinner party that night, which is just the king and Esther and Haman for some fucking reason. Throughout the whole like dinner party situation, Haman is just like low-key texting these construction workers to get some gallows built so that he can like execute all of the Jews, right? And Esther like gets her husband nice and drunk, and he's just like, okay, like what is it? What are you gonna tell me? I'm like on pins and needles. And she's like, okay, are you ready? Here's what I wanted to ask you. Can we have a party tomorrow night so that I can ask you my question then? And he's like, ah, you little tease. Like literally the whole Bible is just like one never-ending withholding kink. So anyway, yeah, the king like goes to bed that night, horny with anticipation, and he just like can't fall asleep. So he decides to read himself a bedtime story and decides to read his own diaries. I'm like barely paraphrasing here. And while he's like going through his diaries, he accidentally like stumbles upon, dear diary, today this guy named Uncle Morty totally saved my life. We should do something really cute for him later. That would be super nice. XOXO King Xerxes. And he reads this and he's like, oh shit, I like totally forgot to do anything cute for Uncle Morty. At this exact moment, Haman knocks on the door and he's like, hey King, we're gonna laugh about this later, but like I feel like I should probably like run this quick thing by you. Literally shut the fuck up. I didn't hear a word you said. I have something important to ask you. What would be the coolest way for me to like honor the fuck out of you? And Haman's like, oh my God. Well, like just like off the top of my head or whatever, you would buy me a new outfit and buy me a really big horse, and then you'd throw me a big parade. And the king is like, that is perfect. So here's the thing. I totally forgot to like do something nice for that guy that saved me. All of the things that you just said, can you do all of those things for him tomorrow? What was that thing you were gonna ask me again? And Haman's like, you know what? Fucking forget it. So then the next day, while Haman is still having like the gallows built, he also has to like plan a whole fucking kingdom-wide parade for Uncle Morty. He's having a day. So after the parade, Haman is just like all tuckered out. But it's like, it's time for the second party. And then like Esther's just like getting her husband drunk. As you do, I guess. I don't know. The streets are not okay. And he's just like, girl, you have to fucking tell me what is your question. I'm assuming it's sexual. And she's like, not exactly. You know, Haman, the guy that's like right next to us, he kind of issued this decree that said all of the Jews in the land can just be like murdered on this day that's like coming up real quick. And here's the thing, I am Jewish, so I just think it'd be really neat if you could like not let us all get murdered. And the king stands up and is like, oh my fucking God, I literally cannot. I like need a minute to collect my feelings. So he literally leaves the room and is like taking a cool down walk or something. Meanwhile, Haman like throws himself at Esther's feet and is like, bitch, you're gonna get me killed. And no, I don't wanna die. She's like, yeah, well, you should have fucking thought about that before you like tried to murder me and all of my people, you dumb bitch. While that's happening, the king like circles through the gardens, comes back to the dinner party, and he's like, as it turns out, I found all of these gallows that were just built like in my backyard, which is weird. And I'm annoyed about it, but kind of solves a problem for me. I think that it'd be super poetic if you got murdered on them. And he's like, fuck, that is super poetic because I was going to use those to kill Uncle Morty. And the king's like, yeah, well, you know what? Even a broken clock's drunk twice a day. And then he fucking dies. He gets executed. So then the king is like, wait a minute, now I don't have a right-hand man. That sucks. And Esther's like, I know a guy. And then Uncle Morty becomes his right-hand man. Oh my God, how perfect is that? But here's the thing though, the royal decree is still out there. The king is like, even though it makes literally no sense, I actually can't like do a backsies on a decree that I made. I don't get it either. And she's like, okay, well, since we can't do a reverse Uno on the genocide, how about you just make another law saying that it's totally legal for Jewish people to murder anyone who's trying to murder them? And the king is like, oh my God, are we having a purge? We're having a purge. Yeah, and then they end up murdering like 75,000 people. Dude, the whole thing's just like so messy. Yeah, basically they like live happily ever after. And to this day, it is still celebrated in the Jewish calendar, the holiday of Purim. I told you that would come back around later, in which they celebrate not fucking dying. And then they also have these cute little pastries called Hamantaschen. And they're shaped in a triangle because that was the shape of the hat, I guess, that Haman wore as the king's whatever. I guess if a bunch of people are gonna try and murder you and the only way out of it is to murder them first, then like best case scenario, you don't die and then someday you like make a whole holiday about eating their hats. What else are you supposed to do? And remember, if you ever find yourself in a real sticky spot in life, try paying the patriarchy consensually, because who knows, he might just name you the most favored queen above all the others or whatever. You get it. Shut up. Get the fuck out of here. Why am I